Okay, this is going to be everything that we're going to need to get ready to code with Android Studio. Just to go through this list quickly, is we need Android Studio. We also need Java, but Android Studio will install a version of Java for us that is the recommended to use. We will also need Git. Technically, you don't need this, but this is by far the best way to do it because then you can use a GitHub repository and then you can use version control. So let's say you make a change that you don't want to, you can go back to a previous version. And then lastly, we're going to need the FTC SDK, which is what you use to actually do everything in code. A lot of it's already there for you aside from the actual code itself. Lastly, we're going to go over the Rev hardware client. This is optional, but it can be useful if you think you might have a problem or you need to update some firmware or something. Otherwise, this is it. So I'm going to start by just looking for download Android Studio. Now, the version of Android Studio I end up getting is likely potentially going to be different than mine if you're watching this in the future. Right now it says Android Studio Ladybug Feature Drop. They're usually named after animals for some reason. But you can just click that button. You can click this, hit download, and decide where you want to put it. It's going to be an exe file, and now we wait. Okay, now that you're done downloading, you're going to want to open that exe file. And this will take you to the installer. Okay, you're probably going to see a message that's like, hey, are you sure you want to install this, blah, blah, blah. Then you just hit next. You can keep all these settings the same unless you know there's something specific that you're doing. And then this is going to load. Okay, after that loading screen is done, you can hit next. And then you can either choose to have Android Studio start. I'm going to choose to do that. And then, this might be different depending on the version of Android Studio you're downloading. But you just wait for this, and then you'll be into Android Studio. So you don't have to do this, but I don't know. It won't matter if you click it either way. Okay, great. Now you can go through this. Again, you can keep all of the settings the same unless there's something specific that you know you're doing. Here you're going to need to hit accept and then finish, and then another loading screen. Okay, during that loading I got a message that I had to click yes for. Other than that, it was just a lot of waiting. So you can hit finish, and then if you selected the Open Android Studio afterwards, then this will open. But just in case you didn't select that, you can just go here and look up Android Studio, and then it'll be here. I'm actually going to pin it to start and pin it to my taskbar, but I'm going to open it. Great. Now we can do a couple different things. We can make a new project, we can open a project, and we can clone a repository. The way that you want to do it is you want to either get from version control or clone a repository. But for clone repository, you're going to see it says Git is not installed here. Regardless of if you want to clone a repository, you want to click that button, and then you want to hit download and install. This will download Git for us. You can download Git by itself, but you can also just do it right through here. Odds are this might ask me to click yes on something with administrator privileges. Okay, once that's done installing, it will say Git has been installed. Now, the next step after we've installed Git is to get the FTC SDK. In order to do that, we need to sign into GitHub. So for this, you're going to want to sign into your team's GitHub account if you have one. If you don't, make one on your team's email. So I'm just going to go to github.com. I'm going to sign in, or sign up if you don't have an account, obviously. And then I'm going to sign into my account. Okay, now that we are signed in to our team's GitHub account on our device, I'm just going to go here on my profile, show you that this is the account that I made for my team. So it's named Tech Heroes. Okay, so I'm going to go to my settings. Under access, you see organizations. I'm going to go to organizations, and if you don't have one already on your team's GitHub account, you want to create one. You can make a free one here, and then you're going to set up your organization name and also your email and stuff. Okay, once you've done your CAPTCHA or whatever, click that little box, and then hit next. And then now you can add other members so that you don't necessarily have to constantly be signed into your team's account. For the purposes of the video, I'm just going to stay on my team's account. So I'm going to skip this step. And now I have an org. So now I'm going to go onto the FTC SDK. And then I'm going to make a fork and create a new fork. Now, if you already have a fork, it will not let you create a second fork unless you make the organization. So you want to name it something that's going to be season specific. But for now, I'm just going to call it tutorial fork. And you can make a description if you want. Okay, so now it's forking, and the important thing about a fork is that when the SDK gets an update, you can click this sync fork button, right? It says it's not behind the upstream. That's good. So if the SDK gets an update, you can just click that sync fork button, and that will update your repository. Great. So now I'm going to either copy this link, or I can go to code, and then copy this link here. I'm going to go into Android Studio. Now, I'm going to just log into my team's account for this. So you're going to want to go to repository URL, and then keep it on Git, and then you paste in that URL. There we go. And then you can choose whatever folder you want to put it in. I'm fine with this. And you're going to want to hit clone. A clone is a personal copy that is going to be on this computer specifically, whereas a fork is sort of like a copy that remains in the GitHub cloud of another repository. Trust project, I'm just going to always trust. And now you are in Android Studio with stuff pulled up. Now, important thing, you are going to get a bunch of orange stuff over here, and you're going to get a bunch of loading screens. You're just going to want to sit here and do nothing until it's all done. You will likely get a pop-up that says Gradle is out of date. You want to update Gradle. Do not update Gradle, because then it's going to mess everything up. Okay, so now that it's getting closer to being finished, this message right here is what I'm talking about. Project update recommended, Android Gradle plugin, blah, blah, blah. Don't do this. It will mess stuff up. Don't update Gradle. Okay, now that that's all done, go under team code, go under Java, and then just go here. And then, let's say I want to make a new package. And let's say I want to call it, I don't know, systems or op modes or something. You want to make packages to help separate your things. But more importantly, you right click, you hit new, and you can do Java class. So let's say I want to call it, I don't know, comp_teleop.java. There are certain things you can't call it. So, you can't call it like teleop, you can't call it, I don't know. Just be careful of what you call it. Call it something original. And you can hit, do you want to add the following file to Git? You don't have to do this. But now that I've done this and I've made a change, right? Let's say I do want to send it to Git. So I don't know, let's say I do, let's say I add a comment. Alright, now I can click this button here, and then you can either select changes, and you can also select unversioned files. Now, you want to have a descriptive commit message, and especially if you're not using separate accounts for each user, you definitely want to sign off on who made the commit. Then you can do commit, or you can do commit and push. I'm going to do commit and push, and then I'd have to sign in. But assuming that you were signed in, that would work, and then it would be updated on your GitHub repository in the cloud. Now let's say someone else has made a change. I can go up here, go to Git. You want to do pull, and then hit pull, and then pulling changes from origin, and it'll tell me that all my files are up to date. But if there were changes, it would download those changes back to my computer so that we can all be up to date even though we're on different computers. That's how you use Android Studio. Now, optionally, we can also download the Rev hardware client. And it's not super necessary, but I'm just going to go over here because I want it on this computer anyways. So you just look up Rev hardware client. I made a typo. Okay. So you're going to see different installers. Offline installer bundled with FRC, FTC, and all software. If you are doing FRC, then you can do that one. You can do all, but we just need the FTC software for now. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to let that download. Okay, cool. Now that that's installed, I'm just going to run that exe file. Okay, cool. So you can hit install. And then loading screen again. Alright, now that those loading screens are over, I'm going to finish, and then I'm just going to have it run. So the way that this works is that you could plug in a device, whether it be a driver station or a control hub or an expansion hub, and then it'll tell you things. You might be able to, you can update your firmware. You can check for updates here. You likely won't really need to touch this that much, if at all. But yeah, you're good to go.